Brexit Britain to the world.
Friday, the 4th of August, 2017. This is Balls Radio. And look, just because we live in a democracy, that doesn't mean you have the right to know what's going on. What gives you that idea? It's all being taken care of. It's all being dealt with in your best possible interest. That's all you need to know. Don't you worry your pretty little head about the details. Like, for example, selling arms to Saudi Arabia. You don't need to worry about that. It's just happening. You know, the UK is now the second biggest arms dealer in the world, and you might not like that idea, but you just have to accept that it's in your own best interest that we do this. Just think of all the lolly. Think of all the money. Don't worry about the consequences. This is all about forging our future away from Europe, one in which we can help human civilization bomb the living daylights out of each other. That's basically our future. We've done our bit. We're selling arms to Saudi Arabia. We're helping create this massive humanitarian crisis in Yemen. You know, you hear of Syria, but it's the same but worse in Yemen. It's just newer. That's all. Just another humanitarian crisis brought about by bombs that we are helping to create. And as usual, it's Muslim against Muslim. It's Shia rebels who took control, and it's the Sunnis who want it back. And the Saudis, of course, are a Sunni government, so they're quite happy to bomb the living daylights out of the place, killing thousands of civilians because they're Shia civilians, Shia Muslims. So they're leaving the place to rack and ruin. And now cholera has broken out because there's no clean water. Well, if you've seen the pictures, how can there be clear water? There's no running water because there's no buildings. Hardly any are left standing. More than 18 million people are now reliant on some form of aid. And add to that, 7,000 new cases of cholera every day. Young children dying painful deaths because of a crisis that's been created using weapons made in this country. Thanks to Saudi bombing campaigns using bombs with made in Britain. I don't know if they actually have that stamped on the side, but they might as well. Fired from British fighter jets, British helicopters, using British surveillance equipment. We've got the whole gamut of military hardware that we're supplying to the Saudis. Why is this any worse than the Russians helping the rebels who tried to overthrow the non-elected government in the Ukraine? I'm not saying I support the Russians in that, but it's a bit hypocritical for us to say that's bad, but it's good for us to support the Saudis in bombing to support the government of Yemen and killing thousands of civilians in the process. We were up in arms that Russia had supplied arms to the rebels. They'd taken a side in a confrontation, whilst we've taken side on one where the Sunnis are fighting against the Shia rebels in a country that most of us knew diddly squat about. I mean, where is Yemen even? You know, it's tucked away at the bottom of the Middle East, below Saudi Arabia, a latecomer to the Arab Spring uprisings, basically. And over the last 5 years, amidst all the tensions in the Middle East, basically the Middle East has doubled its arms imports. Saudi Arabia is the second largest importer in the world after India of weaponry. We're flogging them Typhoon aircraft, precision-guided bombs, Sidewinder missiles, surveillance technology, Apache attack helicopters. Thank Boeing for that one. But also Rolls-Royce making engines for Typhoon jets. Out at Bristol, more than $3 billion of arms to Saudis in the last 2 years alone from this country. And Jeremy Corbyn, it seems, he's just about the only politician with the balls to speak up and ask if this is a good thing. He said before the last election that he was going to stop the export of arms to the Saudis if he won. Perhaps easy for him to say because he knew he probably wouldn't have won, so he wouldn't need to do it anyway. But do we really need that money? Well, yes, because it's £3 billion over 2 years. But surely there's got to be a better way. British ingenuity could be used for something more constructive, couldn't it, than supporting wars, which all they do is have one Muslim sect taking on another Muslim sect and killing tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of people, and then all the humanitarian crisis that follows it. And it's been going on for a long time. We've been selling stuff to Saudi Arabia for decades. In fact, we now learn that 986 documents that would normally have been released to the public under the 30-year rule, 986 of them have been blocked and many of them relate to our arms sales to India and Saudi Arabia in 1986 and 1987 when Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister and her son was an arms dealer. Do you remember? He got lost, went missing. You might remember that story. That's all very confidential for some reason. Maybe Sir Vince Cable will help fight the good fight. He was, of course, in the coalition government when the bombing campaign started in Yemen. In fact, he was business secretary. He says he was given assurances that the UK would be told where their weapons would be used. In other words, they wouldn't be used to fight in Yemen. But the Minister of Defence have denied that. They said no such assurances were given. So we just, as far as they're concerned, we just flog the stuff to the Saudis and let them bomb away, killing thousands, tens of thousands of civilians and creating yet another world humanitarian disaster. Cholera is rampant. Now you can add meningitis as well, outbreaks of meningitis. It seems, that the whole place could become a festering wound that's just going to breed more hatred of the West and the danger of even more terror attacks on our soil. 3 million people in Yemen are now homeless. You can't help thinking many of them are going to be holding a grudge. 2.1 million children in Yemen are now facing famine. Yeah, we do give aid to Yemen to help fight this humanitarian crisis, but we make 10 times more in arms sales. But, on the positive side, it's created jobs in Bristol and a few other places around Britain, and it's going to ease the path for Brexit. That's all you need to know. Nothing to see here. Move along, please.
Radio, the UK. From a Brexit Britain to the world.